Disney Princess, Snow White and the Three Giants. Since meeting the dwarfs long before, Snow White knew the path to their cottage quite well. She often could be found visiting them. But one day, because she was busy talking to her woodland creature friends, she took a wrong turn in the woods and got lost on her way to the dwarfs' home. When she found another cottage in the woods, she knocked on the door, hoping whoever lived there could help her find her way. But no one answered. She noticed that the door was slightly open, so she stepped inside and exclaimed, "Oh my!" Instead of a neat row of 7 little chairs, she saw 3 enormous chairs. She walked farther into the cottage. She saw a fire roaring and crackling in an enormous hearth. Then, just as Snow White discovered the enormous dining table, the ground began to shake. "Oh no!" she gasped. With a groan, the door opened all the way, and in came 3 of the tallest people Snow White had ever seen. They lumbered straight toward her. "What should I do now?" wondered Snow White. Snow White cleared her throat and stepped into their view. "Excuse me," she said bravely. The giants jumped back in surprise. "I'm so sorry," Snow White continued quickly. "I let myself in by mistake. Let me introduce myself. My name is Snow White." "Oh," said the largest giant. "It's okay. You just scared us a bit. We don't get visitors here often." "But now that you're here," said the least big giant, "you should join us for dinner." The 3 giants knelt down to introduce themselves to Snow White. She was relieved they were as kind as the dwarfs had been when they first met her. The least big giant helped her climb up on his chair. "You'll need some cushions," he said, laughing. "And here's a small plate and glass," said the middle-sized giant. "Thank you," said Snow White. "You're all so kind." The next day, Snow White told the dwarfs about her adventure. Giants?" stammered Bashful. Sleepy yawned. "Aren't they dangerous?" "Not at all," Snow White reassured them. "Don't trust them," Grumpy said. "You can't trust anyone tall." "But I'm taller than you," Snow White said. "You'll just have to come and meet them." Snow White thought for a few days about how to introduce the giants to the dwarfs. She just knew they'd get along. Back at the castle one night, Snow White had the perfect idea. She addressed 10 party invitations and made a list of the delicious food she'd make. All she needed then was a game to get everyone laughing. On the day of the party, Snow White announced, "We're going to play Snap. I'll point out something about me, and if it's true for you, shout Snap. And then it's someone else's turn." "Oh, I love games like this," Doc said, chuckling. "Here we go," said Snow White, thinking for a moment. "I have 2 eyes." "Snap!" yelled the giants. "Snap!" yelled the dwarfs. Snow White turned to Bashful, who was up next. I have 2 ears?" he said quietly. "Snap!" called the giants. "Snap!" called the dwarfs. Next, It was the largest giant's turn. I have one nose. Snap! Shouted the giants. Snap! Shouted the dwarfs. I guess we have a lot in common after all, Grumpy admitted. Yes, you do, said Snow White. We all have things in common, and there's actually one more thing you have in common. You are all my friends. Snap! Cheered the dwarfs. Snap! Cheered the giants.